In the frozen forests and wide rivers of Eastern Europe, a legend was born. A story of warriors, faith, empire, and survival. This is the rise of Russia. It begins in the 9th century, when chaos divided the northern tribes. According to the ancient primary chronicle, the Slavs and Finnic peoples invited Varangian warriors from across the sea to restore order. Their leader, Rurik, accepted the call. He and his brothers established rule over 3 towns, Novgorod, Beluzero, and Izborsk. From this base, Rurik laid the foundations of a new realm that would grow to dominate Eastern Europe. After Rurik's death, his successor Oleg moved south to the fertile lands along the Dnieper River. There he captured the city of Kiev, declaring it the mother of Rus cities. This marked the birth of Kievan Rus, a powerful confederation of Slavic tribes tied together by trade and diplomacy. The Dnieper River became its lifeline, linking the forests of the north with the riches of Byzantium in the south. Merchants carried fur, wax, and slaves to Constantinople and returned with silk, wine, and gold. The defining moment came in 988, when Prince Vladimir the Great converted to Christianity. He adopted the Eastern Orthodox faith from Byzantium and ordered the mass baptism of his people in the Dnieper River. This decision not only united the Rus under one religion, but bound them to the cultural orbit of Constantinople. Byzantine art, literature, and architecture flowed northward, blending with Slavic traditions to create a unique civilization. The golden domes of Orthodox cathedrals began to rise above the wooden towns of Rus, symbolizing a fusion of spirit and empire that would shape Russian identity for the next 1,000 years. But Kievan Rus would not last. Power was divided among numerous princely families, and as they fought for influence, the state fractured. Rivalry and civil war tore apart the unity that Rurik's descendants had built. When trade routes shifted and new threats emerged from the steppe, the realm weakened. Then, in the early 13th century, a new power appeared on the horizon: the Mongols. In 1223, the southern princes faced a Mongol scouting force at the Kalka River and were utterly crushed. 14 years later, in 1237, the Mongols returned in full force. City after city fell: Ryazan, Vladimir, Suzdal. On February 4, 1238, Vladimir was burned to the ground. Kiev followed soon after. By 1240, nearly every Rus principality lay in ruins. Only Novgorod, protected by its forests and diplomacy, escaped destruction, continuing to trade with the Hanseatic League. For over 2 centuries, the Mongols, known to the Russians as the Tatars, ruled through fear and tribute. Russian princes were forced to journey to the Khan's court to receive their titles and pay heavy taxes. Yet beneath this domination, new centers of power began to form. Among them, one city would rise above the rest: Moscow. Founded by Daniel Alexandrovich, the youngest son of the hero Alexander Nevsky, Moscow began as a small principality. But through strategic marriages, alliances, and loyalty to the Mongol overlords, it gained land and influence. By the 15th century, Moscow was strong enough to challenge both its rivals and its Tatar masters. Ivan III, known as Ivan the Great, led this transformation. He conquered Novgorod, absorbed Tver, and declared himself ruler of all Rus. Refusing to pay tribute to the Tatars, he confronted their remnants in open battle, shattering the Golden Horde. Under his reign, the Grand Duchy of Moscow tripled in size. He married a Byzantine princess, linking Moscow symbolically to the fallen Eastern Roman Empire. Many began to call Moscow the Third Rome, the new center of Orthodox Christianity and the heir to both Kiev and Constantinople. In 1547, Ivan's grandson, Ivan IV, became the first ruler to crown himself Tsar of all Russia. History remembers him as Ivan the Terrible. His reign was a paradox, one of conquest and cruelty. Ivan expanded Russia's borders eastward, annexing the Khanates of Kazan, Astrakhan, and Siberia, pushing the frontier beyond the Urals. His victories ended centuries of Tatar raids and opened vast new lands for settlement. Yet his reign also descended into tyranny. Paranoia consumed him. He unleashed the Oprichnina, a reign of terror that saw thousands executed, towns destroyed, and the boyar nobility shattered. His long war in the Baltic, the Livonian War, ended in failure, leaving Russia drained and isolated. When Ivan's son Fyodor died without an heir, Russia was plunged into chaos. From 1606 to 1613, the land was ravaged by famine, civil war, and foreign invasion, a period known as the Time of Troubles. It began with hunger. Poor harvests and the onset of the Little Ice Age led to widespread famine that killed over a third of the population. With the state collapsing and the dynasty extinct, pretenders arose, men claiming to be the lost son of Ivan the Terrible. The first, known as False Dmitry I, gained support from Polish nobles and even managed to seize Moscow in 1605. He was later overthrown and killed, his body burned, and the ashes fired from a cannon toward Poland. But others followed, False Dmitry II and a third impostor, each backed by foreign powers hoping to exploit Russia's weakness. Meanwhile, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth and Sweden intervened directly, seeking to divide Russian territory between them. Polish forces occupied Moscow, installing the Polish Prince Władysław as a puppet czar. The countryside fell into chaos, peasants rebelled, cities were sacked, and rival warlords carved out fiefdoms. For a time it seemed Russia itself might disappear. Then, in 1611, resistance began to form. From Nizhny Novgorod, a merchant named Kuzma Minin and a prince, Dmitry Pozharsky, rallied the people. Their militia, united under the banner of orthodoxy and the survival of the homeland, marched on Moscow. In 1612, they liberated the capital from Polish occupation. A year later, in 1613, a national assembly, the Zangzemski Sobor, met to choose a new ruler. They selected Michael Romanov, the 16-year-old son of Patriarch Filaret, a figure seen as untainted by the chaos. His election marked the end of the Time of Troubles and the birth of stability. The Romanov dynasty would rule for more than 300 years, guiding Russia from a fractured realm to a vast empire. Under the early Romanovs, Russia began to rebuild and expand once again. During the Khmelnytsky uprising in Ukraine, the Cossacks turned to Moscow for aid against Poland. The Treaty of Pereyaslav in 1654 brought left-bank Ukraine under Russian protection, leading to a long war with Poland. The Treaty of Andrusovo in 1667 confirmed Russia's control over Kiev, Smolensk, and vast new territories, pushing its borders further west than ever before. Meanwhile, explorers and settlers continued their march across Siberia, reaching the Pacific Ocean by the 1640s. In 1648, Semyon Dezhnev discovered the strait between Asia and America, proof that Russia now spanned two continents. Yet behind this expansion lay deep inequality. Peasants, once free to move from one landlord to another, were bound to the land as serfs. Taxes rose to unbearable levels, enriching the nobles and the state while impoverishing the masses. The gap between ruler and subject became unbridgeable. By the dawn of the 18th century, Russia stood transformed, from the scattered tribes who once called the Varangians to a vast autocratic empire stretching from Europe to the Pacific. Its journey had been one of faith and fury, unity and collapse, endurance and rebirth. From the fires of Kievan Rus to the throne of the Romanovs, the story of Russia had only just begun.